To Obas Trending Gist. Today we are talking about a story that has absolutely exploded the Nigerian media space. Nicki Minaj speaking at the United Nations about the plight of Christians in Nigeria. The US White House arranged this high-profile event, but here in Nigeria, the reception is mixed, with some powerful voices, including a prominent figure on Arise News, calling it nothing more than a stunt. Is the Queen of the Babs a genuine human rights crusader or just chasing clout? And why is Nigeria's elite so focused on the messenger instead of the message? We'll let you hear the debate and then I'll break down my take. So sit back and take a watch.
Good morning to you viewers. Let me tell you what is happening around the world. Now, US-based Trinidadian rapper Nicki Minaj will be addressing the United Nations today in order to highlight the plight of Christians here in Nigeria in a speech arranged by the White House. Now, the US ambassador to United Nations, Mike Waltz, has confirmed the plan, calling the US-based Trinidadian rapper Nicki Minaj, whose real name is Onika Mirage, a principled individual who refuses to remain silent in the face of injustice. Now, in a post on X, Nicki Minaj said, "Ambassador, I am grateful to be entrusted with an opportunity of this magnitude. I do not take it for granted. It means more than you know. The Barbs, which are her fan base, and I will never stand down in the face of injustice. We've been given our influence by God. There must be a bigger purpose." Now, we do look forward to this speech, but there have been concerns over the motivation behind this decision. Nicki Minaj herself wouldn't be considered a gospel artist, for example, but the White House is arranging this appearance as part of its efforts to combat the religious violence and killings of Christians here in Nigeria. Now, there are also fears that her huge platform could be used to distort Nigeria's global image. So we'll see what she has to say. She will be speaking at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 7:30 p.m. here in West Africa, and her comments will be streamed live on YouTube. Well, those are your well-briefed stories and your newspapers from around the world. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Okay, real quickly, Femi, isn't it shocking that the same political class that used to tell us to go to courts, they now know that the courts is now a place where public perception says otherwise. They are now trying to track back and say, oh, the judges should do better. Is it not the political class that spoiled the judges in the first place? Look at the case you cited. Somebody in an arbitration didn't disclose his interest in the case. And even the disciplinary committee of the judges, people have said so many times that it's based on who you know. You don't get discipline. A lot of lawyers and judges do things and they go scot-free with it in this life of expertise. So the same politicians that we all know destroyed the judiciary are speaking up today. I'm happy. Maybe they will start from changing themselves first. That's just it. Because this admittance is a good one. So they know that the judiciary is destroyed. But they are the ones who that mock others and say, go to courts. As regards Sheikh Hasina, when her father, Sheikh Madibo Rahman, took over 50 years ago and set up this country called Bangladesh, little did they know that in not making the country inclusive in such a way that the less privileged can get benefits, it will come back to haunt them. And that's exactly what happened. How did all of this happen? Jobs. The young people needed jobs, but some people were more entitled than some. The quota system for jobs had already fallen apart. That led to protests on the streets. And look at what she's going through now. And she used high-handed force. So you can see the way the same system that she felt she was a Teflon in is now coming to fight against them.
Absolutely.
Bangladesh has been on the bounce. Mohammed Yunus, the Grameen Bank person, runs the country effectively now. They've been able to clear out some loans. They are gradually going back. As regards the US plan that the United Nations is ratifying, it's going to be the beginning of a big debacle in the future. Because you are negating the two-state solution. And for the very first time, I support what Russia is saying on this. And let's call them together. Because, you see, America only does things when it favors it. In some area, I praise America. This talk about against Christian genocide, I praise America. Because, by the way, Piers Morgan says he's going to play his interview with the minister today. I praise America. But in some other areas, when it favors them, they only fight for their interests. And that's why I pray that Nigeria has leaders that think enough to fight for our interests. Look at the case of Khashoggi now. They've forgotten Khashoggi because they want to get deals with Saudi Arabia. They have now pushed Khashoggi to an insider. They didn't talk about the heinous crimes committed by the Saudi government against Khashoggi and the way he was killed. So you can see how people pick and choose when it favors them. I yield the floor.
Right on Sheikh Hasina, it's, she's been sentenced to death, and whilst the UN praises the efforts of her trial, they've said that they are opposed to the death penalty. Of course, as with many politicians, she said that this is politically motivated, especially against her party, but it is on record that the audio leaked from a phone conversation where she ordered or authorized for lethal weapons to be used against, lethal force to be used, well, it's reported as weapons as well, to be used against the protesters, leading to deaths of at least 1,400 people, is why she's here today. Now, I don't know to what extent, as you've mentioned already, she's taking exile in India, and there are no reports around the fact that she'll be released by India to face the consequences of her action. We don't know where this. But I think this speaks deeper to consequences and the rule of law and responsibility, especially for accountability and responsibility, especially for those who have been entrusted with power and to lead the people.
Yes.
And so when you make decisions like this and there are consequences, and no one at all ought to be above the law. For me, that's one of the biggest takeaways. I recall that we talked about this when this happened, when it broke with the protests and then the killings of the students, many of them who were young people in Bangladesh, and then, of course, her exile, her ousting, Mohammed Yunusa coming on as leader of Bangladesh, and now her trial and eventual sentencing to death. Then very quickly on Nicki Minaj, there are mixed reactions to this.
Yes.
Recall that the first time when Nicki Minaj's name came up in this conversation was when she responded to Trump's Truth Social post saying that, she wouldn't stand for any persecution. And I mean, on one hand, people are saying that Nicki Minaj, what's your own in this? But in fairness to her, and as it's been traditional, some influential figures use their platform to support a cause that they take an interest in. In the past, she supported causes around children, health, around racial abuse. She raised funds for George Floyd justice. And so she has been vocal in certain instances and in some ways slightly political. So maybe this has just piqued her interest to go ahead. And also people are saying that anybody that can lend their voice, whether it be Nicki Minaj, Kim Kardashian, anybody to raise their voices, to speak up for what people are suffering is welcome, irrespective of whether or not they themselves belong to that constituent.
Okay, when we first discussed this Nicki Minaj intervention, saying that she's lucky to be an American where there is religious freedom, my repost was that, look, Nicki Minaj is a rapper, right, from Trinidad, Port of Spain, that she should just concentrate on Anaconda rap music and what's that fans called? Babs. This is not, as far as I'm concerned, she's chasing clout, even if she has been invited to this forum by White House advisor and also by Michael Waltz. The thing is 1 o'clock, you said, Eastern GMT. Well, I think what we should do, since now the Americans are adding, influencers and all of that, we also have influencers here. Look, if I were to advise on strategy, by that time when Nicki Minaj is speaking, we should put Tiwa Savage on national television for Tiwa Savage to express patriotic opinion, to say that this is what Nicki Minaj, this is whatever she wants to say.
Say there's no Christian genocide.
Whatever she wants to say.
I'll say it.
Whatever she wants to say. Because this is not a matter for people chasing clout, looking for influence and all that. We can also have Tiwa Savage or other people to defend their country, whatever their belief is.
Christian
That's what I
think.
think.
It's not about defending Nigeria. Killings are going on.
Well, whatever you say. No, I've not stopped. There are about 5 topics. I've just started.
We know the White House is arranging her speech.
Now, with Sheikh Hasina, it's about polarity. We have these leaders who start as icons. Sheikh Hasina Waze, I think that's her last name, started as a pro-democracy icon. The military regime that killed her father and her sisters, she came in from India and then became a major, pro-democracy protester. She ended up in 1996 as prime minister, following a family tradition. And during that period, she did a lot. Signed a water deal with India, had a bridge, the Padma Bridge, over the Ganges, improved the democracy, the framework in that country, took over 25 million people out of poverty. But this same woman who started as an icon, she lost her position to a lady called Begum Zia, who is also from a dynasty. But eventually, she came back in 2009 and further transformed the Bangladeshi economy. But she then ended up as a dictator, as an autocrat, particularly with disappearances, threats, harassment, suppression of civil society, human rights groups. At the end of the day, she removed the quota, civil service quota, for marginalized persons. And that was what triggered the strike on July 15 to August 5. 1,500 people were killed. The day she was leaving, about 52 people were killed on that day. Yeah. She's in India. She had dismissed the ruling as a farce. And a party, the party of her father, the Awami League party, has been suspended. And so that's what you have. But the moral that I take away from it is how leaders who start well end up badly. And that's the same thing we are beginning to have now in Tanzania, where Suluhu Hassan is already appointing her daughter as Deputy Minister of Education and her son-in-law into the cabinet. And this was the same woman that people like Ayo praised that, oh, women are the best. But we have seen...
There are too many men, Dr. Abati, who have done worse. I'm not supporting it.
I know, but we have also seen that, leadership is about character, it's about integrity, whether you are male or you are female. Indeed. Trump's plan for Gaza, they have a board that Trump is going to control. They are having an international policing system, but Hamas does not agree. Russia and China abstained from voting. 13 countries, including UK, France, Somalia, voted. But Russia and China did not veto because, about 8 Muslim countries, including Turkey, supported the proposition. But, whether it will promote the cause of peace remains to be seen, particularly as Hamas says this is supposed to be an international occupation force that would lead to disarmament and may not lead to progress.
That was a fascinating clip, but it cuts right to the heart of the recurring issue in Nigerian discourse. We often focus more on the external optics and the perceived political motives of the person raising an issue rather than the core issue itself. Let us address Dr. Abati's main contention that Nicki Minaj is a rapper from Trinidad who should concentrate on Anaconda and is simply chasing clout. First, the messenger versus the message. Is the cause of the protecting Christians in Nigeria suddenly less legitimate because a hip-hop artist with a global fan base is the one speaking about it? Absolutely not. Nicki Minaj, as Ayo rightly pointed out, has a massive platform. She is worth hundreds of millions of dollars and has hundreds of millions of followers. When she speaks, the world listens. A global spotlight the Nigerian government has consistently failed to generate for its own citizens' security. Dr. Abati and others dismissed her based on who she is, but the fact is her celebrity is exactly why the White House and the US ambassador to the UN, Mike Waltz, are leveraging her. They see the value in a celebrity with a non-traditional voice bringing attention to an ongoing crisis. The idea that she should stay quiet because she is not a gospel artist or a traditional human rights activist is fundamentally anti-activism. Influence, especially God-given influence, as Nicki Minaj herself stated, is meant to be used. Secondly, the Nigerian political class hypocrisy. The news segment highlighted the government's fear that her platform could be used to distort Nigeria's global image. This is the defensive posture the Nigerian elite consistently or constantly adopts. They are more concerned with their international image, the veneer of stability, than the reality on the ground that creates the negative image. This is the same political class that, as Rufai Oseni pointed out, mocks others by saying go to court, only to later admit the judiciary is compromised. They want the world to ignore the problem they are failing to fix. The response to Nicki Minaj should not be to cry out clout chasing or distortion. The response should be, thank you for bringing attention to this. We are taking decisive action, but instead we get deflection. 3. The reality of the crisis. The issue she is addressing is not a figment of a rapper's imagination. Religious violence and killings of Christians in Nigeria's Middle Belt and the North are well documented by international bodies and NGOs. The US government's willingness to arrange this speech underlines the gravity of the situation. Rufai's quick interjection of Christian genocide in the middle of Dr. Abati's rant shows that even within the Nigerian media, the severity of the crisis is known. The reason this issue is polarizing is because it is being framed as an attack on Nigeria's sovereignty or image rather than a necessary call for government to fulfill its primary duty, protecting its citizens. If a foreign rapper can achieve more visibility for persecuted Nigerians than our entire diplomatic and political apparatus, the failure lies not within her, but within the Nigerian system. The next one is the value of external pressure. External pressure works. The Nigerian government is often more responsive to international scrutiny than to its own citizens. Nicki Minaj's speech will force a moment of uncomfortable global accountability. Whether her personal motives are pure or not is secondary to the outcome. A then human rights situation gets a global stage. The focus should shift from why is Nicki Minaj talking about this to why does Nigeria allow a situation that requires Nicki Minaj to talk about this. The White House involvement is strategic. They are using soft power to advance a human rights agenda, and Nicki Minaj is the perfect vehicle. Nigeria's patriots should be using this moment to demand concrete action from Abuja, not to police the celebrity status of an influential woman. So, to conclude, Dr. Abati is wrong. Nicki Minaj is not merely chasing clout. She is using her massive clout to chase justice, and whether she is a crusader or a calculated activist, the attention she brings to this deadly crisis is desperately needed. It is a moment for Nigeria to drop the defensiveness and embrace the spotlight to implement real lasting solution. So, that's my gist for today. I want to hear from you. Do you agree with Dr. Abati that Nicki Minaj is simply chasing clout? Or do you agree with Ayo and me that any voice speaking up for the persecuted is a welcome one? Let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Obas Trending Gist for more critical analysis, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next upload. I'll see you then.